know who made it.
Good evening to episode 123 of RickCast. I'm Rick. Thank you for hanging out with me on this Friday evening. You have a lot of choices, especially in the summer, so I deeply appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me, especially since there's not a lot to talk about. I know you often hear me say that on this channel, like, it's a slow news day. Today was tough. Today was tough to try and get through as far as getting stuff for you, but I have stuff for you. And it's going to be a wonderful show as the bar rats filter in. Today's double duty for me, so I will be doing this show, and then I would be turning around at about 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern Time to be doing News from the Pew with the one and only Steve Cunningham. Always happy to do a show with the legend himself, so we'll be doing that as well. I got one hot take or one story to kind of warm up the crowd as hopefully more people filter in. I apologize. I was at a LCT class all day teaching it, so yeah. I got one hot take, one opening act story to get into. Then we're going to talk about Abrego Garcia. Well, he's back. He's like a bad penny, just keeps turning up. SCOTUS okays DOGE's access to Social Security, which will be interesting to say the least. Court backs Catholic in an anti-trans bias, quote unquote, case. So that'll be two cases in 2 days. One where they approved reverse discrimination, which we had a lot of fun with last night. And then today, the court's backing Catholics, saying they don't have to bend the knee to the LGBT plus mafia. And then finally, we'll do a box office preview. I am disappointed. I was not able to get to see Ballerina last night. Looks like I'm going to have to go on Monday because I have an LTC class tomorrow. And then I'd like to spend my Saturday night and my Sunday with my wife. I try to make time for that. Some guys work all through this stuff, and I get it. Yeah, the really successful ones work 7 days a week, and they put in the grind and the effort. I'm just not there. I'm just not there, man. I'd like to separate enough time to actually spend some time with my wife. And then Sunday, obviously, as Catholics, Sunday's a holy day. We don't work. If that means I'm not going to be as successful as others, so be it. That's not even a question for me. If you've been around this channel long enough, I've lost pretty good job opportunities because of that. I had an opportunity. I interviewed at Staccato because Staccato is like 30 minutes away from me. If you know what I'm talking about, it's a very good firearm, like some of the best made firearms in these United States. And the job that they wanted me to do, they wanted to be a range officer. And it was Sunday through Thursday, something like that. Oh, no. It was Wednesday through Sunday. They took Monday and Tuesday off. And I told them as soon as the interview started, I'm like, I can't do Sundays. And they were really good about it, but that was it. Now, Mark, there's a difference here. If that's your livelihood, right? If that's your livelihood, there's no question. The Catholic Church doesn't have a problem with that. If that's how you provide for yourself and that's part of it, that's not it doesn't go against the church's teaching. I'm talking about this is not right now. This show that I'm doing, it's not a primary source of income for me. In fact, it is a 0.0 source of income for me. So for me to do a show, it's not necessary for the family. So I don't have to do it, so I won't do it. It's not this show, and what I do here is in no way, shape, or form comparable to like people's full-time jobs and the way they provide. That's a totally different ballpark. And if I ever had to take a job to provide for my family on Sundays, I would do it, right? Because as your duty as a man and as a husband and the leaders, you got to do that. So that's a totally different ball game than what I'm talking about. Like sitting behind a computer, sitting behind a microphone, that's not in the same lane as like factory workers and people with real jobs. People with real jobs who actually do the real work. I don't know about you guys. I'm getting a lot of these advertisements on Instagram for these companies in Australia where you fly in, where they need people to work on the oil rigs down in Australia. And their propaganda is working on me, man, because they're like, hey, we pay for everything. You work and live on the tanker, and no taxes, and you get paid this much, and they're showing checks. And I'm almost about to go to my wife and being like, we may need to look into this. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off kind of thing. Yeah, you're right, Mark. And we've talked about that. We've also talked about the fact that the coming AI revolution is on the way. And how do we approach that as well? Companies are, man. You have to do what you can to provide for you and yours. That is absolutely without a doubt or debate. So it is what it is in that regard. But it's like FAFO, fly in, fly out, Australia or something like that, where they'll pay you to work on the rig and all that. I'm like, man, if anything ever happens, I may have to do that. Yeah. No, I mean, Michael, you're 100% right. They'll pay you, but they're gonna work you to death. Like, I am under no illusions that oil life is an easy life. It is a hard life, but the idea is, right, you're compensated for your time. And so that is what it is. And I think energy as well. It's kind of highlighted by this Elon Musk Trump thing, if they're really battling over the EVs. Because one thing when we talk about AI is we don't talk about the necessary power generation that the US needs to do. So energy, jobs, are not going away, because the US is about 10 years behind in energy production, because the amount of energy that you need to power AI, we are very far behind in that regard. Now, it wouldn't shock me that the rigs are haunted, because I'm sure guys die in some of the worst conditions imaginable. So that's I don't think it's an easy life. I don't think I don't think any of those things. I'm saying is the propaganda does work, because I'm going, huh? So you're making that much money a month and all these other kinds of things, and like they don't tell you what they do. They just show you like, oh, you have all this food and you have this gym and you have, like, yeah, what do you do? What are you doing like for work? What are you actually doing all day? And there is a plan, but it takes, Mark, you might be better at it than I am. How long does it take to make a plant? It takes about 6 years to make a nuclear plant. I know we didn't cover the story, but I know Trump is trying to fast track those things. But even that, like nuclear plants and gas and all and oil and all these other things, they're going to need as much energy as possible to power this stuff. So, if you're looking for, if you're a younger lad and you somehow stumble onto the show, it may not be glamorous work, but you may have to look in the energy sector, maybe be 10 minimum, about 10. So we have a range of 5 to 10 depending on what you're dealing with. I agree with both of you there. You're a young man, find an energy job, find an offshore job, especially if you're single. Just go find a job that pays you well in the energy sector. Just stick with it, because I think that's one of the few manufacturing, energy, that kind of stuff. I think that's going to be as AI proof as jobs can be. But yeah, that's a good point, right? You want to kind of have the regulations in there. I'm sure there's some regulations Mark's talking about that are just ridiculous, not to deal with the actual nuclear stuff, but there's always extra regulations. Obviously, the regulations around the nuclear program, we'd all like to keep those. But I'm sure there's some egregious stuff that we can probably remove. All right, before we get into the show real quick, I want to thank an unofficial sponsor, because I'm blatantly using their images in my countdown video. Tradflags.com. They are not an official sponsor. I'm just promoting them because I'm kind of ripping off their stuff, and I'm trying to be like, please don't tell me to stop using it. You can find it at tradflags.com. You can look at their flags. They have awesome monthly flags. So there's a flag for every month of the year. If you're a Catholic, you can fly it outside your home. A lot of people like to fly the Sacred Heart of Jesus flag the month of June, because they're flying the non-traditional, abhorrent, one of the 4 cardinal sins that cries out to heaven for vengeance flag. But they also have pretty cool flags. They have rear view mirror flags, horizontal flags, all kinds of great stuff. So check them out, tradflags.com. Not an official sponsor of the program, but I'd like to thank them for not telling me. They probably don't even know I exist, but if they ever do, I'm trying to give you as much free publicity as possible. Maybe somebody will buy a flag, because you guys do great work over there. Tradflags.com. All right, so let's get to our first. Honestly, the stories are so boring to me. I would rather just talk about like nuclear plants and that kind of stuff. Nice, guys. We got their holy fight. That's a beautiful flag. We might just have a chill stream one night in the summer, like at the end of June, the beginning of July, when there's really nothing happening. We might just have a chill stream, and you guys can talk about whatever you all want to talk about, because some of these stories are really dry. They're really dry. But let's get into one that I think is a little bit juicy. So Kash Patel is so busy hunting down terrorists and all these other things at the FBI that he had a chance to fly down to Austin, about an hour and a half away from me, so he could go on the Joe Rogan Experience, right? Because when I think of the acting director of the FBI, I think one of the most important things he's doing is going on a podcast for a couple hours at a time, instead of, I don't know, finding criminals or finding or releasing the Epstein list or any of the other things that we were promised. But of course, he was asked a couple questions. I think they're pretty prominent. and we will respond to them when we say we, I mean me, and you will make your comments in the comment section down below. But this first one he was asked about the fact, like, hey, Cash, you know what? I'll let him answer it. Take it away, Cash.
I know it's on people's minds. Epstein, right? The reason people are pissed off about that is the same thing, right? 20 years ago, or whenever it was, 2006, 7, 8, Epstein gets his sweetheart plea deal, right?
Right.
After committing the most horrific crimes on planet Earth, right? I wasn't in power there. I wasn't in place there. I had, nothing to do with it. But people were rightfully pissed. I mean, this guy was committing the most grotesque acts you can against children. And the media spins up about it. Many in the media protected him. Why? Because of his relationships, who he knew, who his bankers were, who his colleagues were, who was on the island and stuff.
Who are they, Cash? Who are they? Who are they, buddy?
Stuff like that. Some pretty powerful human beings. And so when you peel back the layer, and then what happened? The Trump administration, the last go around, decided, no, we're not going to let that go. We're going to investigate him, right? They charge him, they indict him, and he's awaiting trial. And I've said it, Dan Bongino said it, we've reviewed all the information, and the American public is going to get as much as we can release. He killed himself. Do you think, let's play out the logical conclusion of this. Do you think that Bongino and others would participate in hiding information about Epstein's grotesque activities? Or
yes, I do. I 100% think that you would hide every piece of evidence possible if it meant that you could keep your sweetheart job. There was a very famous thing Rafael Palmero did during the steroid hearings, when he pointed his finger at the people asking him questions. And that is equivalent. And we knew, because Rafael Palmero was guilty as sin, and he was angry and he was pushing back. Cash, I 100% believe it. I'm not one of your podcast buddies. I'm not Tim Pool. I'm not any of your dudes I'm not going to let you slide on. I wouldn't let you slide on it. I 100% believe you would hide it, because your intentions may be good, but you said on other guys' shows that you would shut down the FBI day one and turn it into a museum. It's been 6 months, homie. I see you flying around on helicopters and hanging out with all these people. I don't see you doing any of this stuff you promised. But don't act like, would I? Yes. Yes, I 100% believe you would. 100%. But continue.
Or do you think we would also participate in not prosecuting people we had evidence to prosecute people on? But the problem is, there's been like 15 years of people coming in and creating fictions about this that doesn't exist. Where's the videotape of an Epstein Island of X, Y, and Z committing these frauds? Why haven't you given it to us? Do you really think I wouldn't give that to you if it existed?
Yes, I do. I 100% believe you wouldn't give it to us. The trust me, bro line of question. Trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. We hung out on podcasts together. Trust me. I don't trust none of y'all. None of them.
I'm working my ass off along with the leader.
Yeah, I see you flying around on helicopters, Holmes. I don't really think you're working your ass off. Sorry, but I don't really think that. I don't believe you.
At the Bureau and DOJ to get you what we're allowed to give you. And you're going to get the video of the cell. And you're going to see for yourself. And we will never be able to convince everyone.
Okay, let's get into that. So what did you think before you got in office? Did you think that Epstein was murdered?
No.
No suspicion at all of that?
Bull. Come on. You seriously going to say that? I didn't think that. He knows. Does he know the internet's forever? Does he know that? Somebody's going to dig up a clip and they're going to plaster him for it, as they rightly should.
I have a
Ridiculous.
different background, right?
Right.
So I was a public defender back in the day.
Don't care.
I used to spend a lot of time in jails and a lot of time in segregated housing units, shoes as we call them, right? And so, and I've known people that have committed suicide in these cells.
I didn't say it.
And I know how you get in, how you get out, who works the system. And so the way
So this is another tactic people use. Look at all my credentials. Look at all my credentials, all the things I know. These are all the things I know. This is my experience, bruh. Of course I can't be lying.
based on public information at the time, that he ended up the pictures and him hanging himself. I was like, man, that guy killed himself. There's just no way that you could have run an op and had people go into that cell and not have any video of it and not have any people come out and say, hey, yeah, I saw that guy. He shouldn't have been there, the guard or this guy. There's just no access points into places like this in the detention center he was in, which I've been in.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I was told, what I'd read, was that the guards were not paying attention or were sleeping.
Well,
which is
right?
what they
yeah,
reported.
and in short order, you'll see it.
Is that correct?
Well, it's hard to surmise that from a video, right? Like,
Right.
where they and look, do guards doze off on the night shift? Yeah. But no one can get in to the cell. And if they had gotten in to the cell, you would see it.
But we were told that the cameras were down.
Well, I don't know who said that.
This thing's falling apart, and Joe's not even asking tough questions. Joe Rogan is not an interviewer. It is not his job to press. He doesn't do that. But it's not like he's asking. This is not Tom Cruise badgering Jack Nicklaus on the witness stand, and he's folding like a cheap suit.
But that was in the news.
We're giving you all the footage we have.
So why wasn't that released like immediately? Why did this speculation escalate?
I think you'd have to ask
Ask Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, wait, he's dead.
whoever the attorney general back then was, Bill Barr.
Did you ever see? Do you remember that?
You don't have access to this stuff, homie? You don't have access to notes or files or any of that stuff?
HBO autopsy show? Dr. Michael Baden. He's a famous forensic
I don't think I've seen that.
scientist. So he's a pathologist, and he reviewed the case, and it was his determination that it was a homicide because of the way his neck was broken. And what he said was it was indicative of a ligature strangulation. And it was because of the positioning on the neck where the marks were, that it wasn't indicative of someone hanging by their weight, which had been higher on the chin. And there's a specific break of the bones and the vertebrae that's consistent with someone who is just strangled to death.
I haven't seen it. I'll definitely take a look at it.
Yeah. Well, wait. Well, you're definitely going to do it, homie. I got you. This is ridiculous. Just say you're not going to do it. Just say you're not going to do it, because you're contradicting Law and Order Bunny, Law and Order Bondi on what her stuff, right? On her stuff, because she's gone out there and she's told you there's hundreds of, she's got videos after videos after videos on all of these things. So who's lying? Is the FBI director lying? Right? Yeah. So, yeah, he hasn't seen it at all. It's like it's his job. I haven't seen any of it. What have you been doing? You've been flying around on helicopters. You've been taking photos. You've been doing all this other kind of stuff. You haven't done your actual job.
It's always been that there's video.
Sorry.
The video from the island.
Again, we're going to give you everything we can, and people have to remember.
Pam said she was. Now you said you are. What do you're I'm trying not to use phrases that I use in real life because I'm a bad Catholic. You're just teasing everybody. Oh, we're gonna give it to you. We're gonna give you the videos. Hold on. Just you wait. Give me a break.
We're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that shit back out there. It's not happening. Because then
Sorry
people
for the
are
cursing.
not doing it. You want to hate me for it? Fine.
It's not hate, dude. You're just lame. You're just lame. You talk all this junk like you're a big tough guy, and now you're gonna hide behind. Well, we can't do this. Sorry, we're gonna hide behind. Oh, we can't do that, guys.
Again, logical.
I know how to blur out people's faces, and I'm working with Canva. You guys can't do it? You can't get AI to blur out the images? Okay.
Play out. If there was a video of some guy,
right? If there was a video, just like if there was a video of Epstein, he's going to say, you don't think I would release it? Yes, I don't think you would.
or gal committing felonies on an island, and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
No.
Right.
No.
If you have it.
Right.
But you can't say that you have it.
No, we're giving you everything we have.
And is
Stop
there
telling me
video
you're
from
gonna
the
give
island?
me everything. You know what? You should have gone on Rogan and showed it with, here it is, right here. That's all you got to do. There you go. It's right there. Play the first one. Play the second one. Play the third one. Not, we're going to do it, guys. We're going to do it. Don't you worry. We're going to do it, guys. He's no better than Lon Bunny Bondi. Cash Patel.
Not of what you want.
So this narrative might not be accurate, that there's video of these guys doing this.
Exactly.
Have you guys reviewed everything that you have?
Almost. Like yes, we have, and now we're figuring out.
So have you or have you not? You guys can't.
How to
Right.
put it out.
But is there footage?
Once again, Joe Rogan is not exactly blasting this guy with difficult questions, and he can't even stay on his feet on this one.
If there was footage of anyone doing anything else, we would have opened a case.
There are tons of thousands of videos. Yeah, and it's all with little kids.
If there was a video,
I mean, come on. Come on. Do these people not talk to each other? It's so, ugh.
of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island, and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Thank you, O'Keefe Media Group. Pathetic, dude. This was supposed to like shore everything up. This is worse. It's pathetic. Just tell us you're not getting the videos. Shut up and deal with it. You're not getting them. You're never getting the videos. You know what? Just shut up and take it. But I'm not. Tim Pool, all these guys are going to run cover for Cash because he's a podcast buddy and he's been on their shows, and they can direct what they're going to do is they're going to protect Cash for access. They're going to protect him for access. That's all it is. Even the popular YouTubers on the right can't trust them because they're going to lie for this guy. They aren't going to call him out. And if they do, it's going to be with the gentlest of kids' gloves. Not me. Forget that nonsense. Cash, you're an absolute disgrace. You're an absolute disgrace. You think you're tough enough? You like, oh, we're gonna do this tough guy talk where you're gonna sit down there. If you don't think, would I give it to you? No, we don't. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is a really good thing that it's waking people up to this nonsense, to this absolute farce that you can't trust any of these people. You can't trust any of these people. I mean, Mark, I try to do my best, but, take everything, try to, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, my friend. I'm just a guy with my little snowball microphone yelling at stuff. You guys are what makes the show special because you guys being here actually makes it worth it. All right, guys. That's probably the most emotional I'm going to get all night because the rest of these stories are dry, but yeah, it's all one and the same, man. New boss, same. Was it Steve Cunningham say meet the new boss, same as the old boss? All the same crap, all the same stuff. It's all the same. You don't think I would? You don't think I would do it? Why not? It's all you need to do is point the finger at the camera, right? All the way back to W. Read my lips, no new taxes. They're all the same, man. They're all the same. But then again, we as Catholics, we need to remember that the earth is thy ship and not thy home. Remember the passage Psalm, the message from Psalms, which I know most of you will know. Put your trust not in princes, in the children of men, whom there is no salvation. That's all. That's all it is. That's all it is. because there is no trust in men. That's it. And so too many people put their trust in government, and hopefully this breaks that glass on that. All right, let's get on to our next story here, ladies and gentlemen. From groundnews.com, Abrego sounds like a topping. Sounds like a spice. He's spicy. Abrego Garcia is on the way back to the U.S. to face charges. Well, you thought we were done with these people? Law and Buddy Bondi, go!
Has landed in the United States to
There you go,
face
Mark.
justice. On May 21st, a grand jury in the Middle District of Tennessee returned a sealed indictment charging Abrego Garcia with alien smuggling and conspiracy to commit alien smuggling in violation of Title 8 U.S.C. 1324. We want to thank President Bukele for agreeing to return Abrego Garcia to the United States. Our government presented El Salvador with an arrest warrant, and they agreed to return him to our country. We're grateful to President Bukele for agreeing to return him to our country to face these very serious charges. This is what American justice looks like. Upon completion of his sentence, we anticipate he will be returned to his home country of El Salvador. The grand jury found that over the past 9 years, Abrego Garcia has played a significant role in an alien smuggling ring. They found this was his full-time job, not a contractor. He was a smuggler of humans and children and women. Made over 100 trips, the grand jury found, smuggling people throughout our country, MS-13 members, violent gang terrorist organization members throughout our country.
You think Abrego was like, man, I wish I just went back to El Salvador I wish I went back to Venezuela when I had the chance. This is way too much for me.
Thousands of illegal aliens were smuggled. This is especially disturbing because Abrego Garcia is also alleged with transporting minor children. The defendant traded the innocence of minor children for profit. There are even more disturbing facts that the grand jury uncovered. It is alleged this defendant is part of the same smuggling ring responsible for the death of more than 50 migrants in 2021 after the tractor trailer overturned in Mexico. This is part of that same ring. The defendant abused documented alien females, according to co-conspirators who were under his control while transporting them throughout our country. This defendant trafficked firearms and narcotics throughout our country on multiple occasions. They were using vehicles, SUVs, with added seats in the back, floors that had been ripped out, guns, narcotics, children, women, MS-13 members. That is what
I like how I like her notes are just saying, repeat that over and over again.
The grand jury found.
Looking for news that actually tells the truth?
Oh, I don't care. Thank you. Bye-bye. So from this story, just really, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is returning to the U.S. after being mistakenly deported to El Salvador for over 2 months. He's expected to face criminal charges in the U.S. for allegedly transporting these undocumented migrants and all the other things that she said. His deportation violated U.S. immigration judge's 2019 order that protected him from being sent back to El Salvador. And U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement acknowledged in court filings his deportation was due to an administrative error. But he's coming back. He's going to jail. I'm sure the left will use this as some kind of charge about something. Does it matter? No. He's coming back. He's going to face, quote, justice, if you want to call it that. And yeah, so like I said, there's not a lot to really deep dive in on many of these stories. Just letting you know that you're going to hear stuff about, oh, well, he's back in the U.S. Yeah, because they actually know he's a criminal. He should have been deported in the first place. He should have been rotting in jail. He should have been rotting in jail for 6 years. But instead, because of Biden and all the others, they released him, and now he's back out. They let him out for this period of time. So now he's at least going to jail. All right, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Real quick, I want to talk about my buddy Dean Oakes. He needs our help. He's going back in for some more work. And if you can find the time to donate to Dean, that would be huge. I'm going to put the link in the script in the comment sections on multiple platforms if you want to help. If you can, Dean is a good dude, and he could use our support if we have the ability to do so. I consider him a friend, and if you do have the ability to help him, you know, any little bit helps. So check out GoFundMe. It is in the comment section down below. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our next story of the night. A little bit of an interesting story here that you can't really see. Supreme Court allows DOGE access Social Security data. And what the thing is here from kcra.com. Come on, all your ads. I know you got to pay for stuff, but can you not do this? The Supreme Court cleared the way on Friday for the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, to access Social Security systems containing personal data on millions of Americans. Why is this a big deal? The left is going to say, oh, they have access to millions of Americans. Well, they really shouldn't. The problem is not that DOGE has access. The problem is that the federal government should not have this much access to your data. The court already sided with the administration in its first Supreme Court appeal involving DOGE. The team once led by billionaire Elon Musk until he flaked out. The 3 liberal justices dissented. The High Court halted an order from a judge in Maryland restricting the team's access to Social Security Administration under federal privacy law, which is weird because DOGE is a federal department. Yeah, I know. China has everything. China has everything on us. So I don't know. It's just so they can halt anything that Trump is doing. That's really what it is. The Trump administration says DOGE needs access to carry out the mission of targeting waste and fraud in the federal government. Musk had been focused on Social Security as an alleged hotbed of fraud, which if you've ever paid attention to any reports on Social Security, it is a huge, huge hotbed of fraud. So U.S. District Judge Ellen Holliner in Maryland found that DOGE's effort at Social Security amounted to a fishing expedition, which I don't really trust a federal judge to understand what's going on because she's a federal judge. Based on little more than suspicion. Well, if they have suspicion, then they should be allowed access. If they find nothing, they find nothing. It's essentially, it's funny because this judge would probably okay a probable cause search by a police officer, which we can all agree is nothing more than a fishing expedition. But in this case, they're using probable cause, and she's like, no, your fishing expedition is no good. So it's interesting to see in that regard. The Trump administration has says DOGE can't work effectively with restrictions. The Solicitor General Sauer also argued that the ruling federal judges overstepping their bounds. So now you have SCOTUS stepping in and saying it's okay. Let them go after it. I think it's great. Lee Saunders stated that the ruling strongly warns Elon Musk and his associates to stay away from Social Security, which if they're so desperate to keep you away from Social Security, then there's obviously waste, fraud, and abuse taking place there. Social Security makes up such a huge amount of the federal spending that it needs to be looked at. There's got to be cuts that can be made. And I'm not talking to people's actual Social Security. I'm talking about dead people, illegals, all kinds of things. And it needs to be the Social Security rolls need to be purged, because every once in a while one of these stories bubbles up about how somebody's been cashing their grandma's Social Security checks, and she's supposedly 150. So it is what it is. Now, as far as, Musk v. Trump, I still think it's kayfabe. I think it was a gigantic troll. My problem with this, Lou, is I think they agreed on it, and Musk, because he has no emotional control, in the heat of the moment, dropped the Epstein tweet. And the Epstein tweet is what's going to keep him out of the White House for a while, because Trump was like, too far. We were fine with everything. Because the fact is, Trump, if you looked at what he tweeted yesterday, there's nothing he can't walk back. Oh, yeah, we had our problems, but he came back, all that kind of stuff. Musk just went nuclear. And there are reports that he's been trying to get in touch with Trump today, and Trump just doesn't want anything to do with him. So I think Trump's going to hang him out to dry for a little bit, maybe for the summer, and then bring him back in the fall as a triumphant return. I'm sure it's going to get communicated to him like, hey, you guys had a fight. Just let it cool down for a couple months. Let Trump get the bill passed, the big, beautiful bill passed. And then later on, you guys can hang out again. I think it's a troll job, though. I think it started as a troll job, and I think Musk went too far on it. Oh, it's awful. It's 100% awful. But then again, those are our overlords. Back into the story. Yeah, Mark, you're right. Nursing homes don't report people dying, and they collect money for years. So it is what it is. And if they're working so hard to keep you out of the one place, it's kind of like guilt by association at this point, right? If you are working that hard to keep somebody out, then it's essentially the same logic the lefts use. If there's nothing to hide, why not let DOGE go in there? They have access to all these people's information. You have access to all their information. You have access to it. So why? The 19-year-old autistic kid doesn't care about the people's information. He's just looking for, he's like Ben Affleck in the first Accountant movie, which, by the way, the second Accountant movie wasn't bad. Not any way, shape, or form as good as the first. Like Ben Affleck in the first Accountant movie, all he's looking for is irregularities. He doesn't care about anything else. The numbers don't add up. He's not looking for like Grandma Sophie. He's just trying to see why the numbers aren't working. They don't have any interest in piling on data. But the feds do. And the feds want to keep your data. And if they start purging the rolls, things may end up getting spicy, to say the least. All right, RickCast, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. On this beautiful Friday, the 6th of June, we take a moment to remember the brave men that stormed the beaches of France this morning. They did it this morning on this day. And, when you think about what those men sacrificed and how the West has ended up, I'm not saying it wasn't a noble sacrifice. These men did it because they felt they were doing the greater good. I'm not even throwing shade at those men. It's just, what they did and where we are. Imagine living in England and trying to celebrate D-Day and then driving around London. If your grandfather died at D-Day and you live in England, I'm like, what the hell did we do this for? Sorry for cussing, but like, what did we do all this for? We lost. And I know people don't want to hear that because they want to wear their t-shirts that says back-to-back World War champions. But the idea that we really won. Yeah, we won the conflict, but in the overall philosophical scheme of things, if you look at it, now we lost. England has lost. And I know this will get clipped in shadow ban. Would England have been a better spot today, or if Nazi Germany invaded and occupied it? It's a philosophical question you can ask. What would the state of England be if the Nazis actually were able to cross the English Channel and occupied it? And America never got in and all these other kinds of things. You can ask that question. That's a philosophical versus what England is going through today. England is a poor country with a massively wealthy city. London is wealthy. England is not. If you actually, like, I watch Mr. H reviews, all these other kinds of things. And he lives there, and he's like, he'll tell you, England is not a wealthy place. London is a wealthy city, but England in itself does not do great financially. So you can ask. I'm not in favor of any of that stuff, right? I need to get a flashpoint. Nazis bad, Nazis bad, Nazis bad. Not everybody. Hitler bad, whatever. Right? I got to say, wave the hands. Hitler bad, obviously. But the English were left to govern themselves, and look at where they've gone. That country will not be the same. That country will not be English in 30 years. You've already got Indian prime minister. You've got a Muslim mayor of London. And they're like, well, I'm British. You may be British by nationality or by naturalization, but you don't share in the identity of the English. You're not English. And so, right? Yeah, look at the King of England. That guy is he went to Canada and he was apologizing for taking native land and all these other kinds of things. They are toast. And the crazy thing is, if you ask English people on the countryside, the bourgeoisie English, they don't care what's going on in London. They're fine. They have their money. They could care less if England, burns at the stake. So it is, and then you look at that. You look at it. You look at Spain. You look at France. France will break apart within a generation. France will divide itself down the middle between the Muslim parts and the French parts. It's going to have to, because there's no coexisting those two ideologies. And I think the French part that does separate from the rest of France will be a Catholic one. I think it will return to its Catholic roots, and it will be Catholic Southern France and Muslim Northern France, because Muslim Northern France will be right across from Muslim England. And this is me just wargaming it. I would be happy to be wrong. So it is what it is. But I don't know how we got in this conversation, but this is actually more interesting than anything else we've been talking about. But the fact of the matter is, because we're talking about D-Day. Yeah. So why did we liberate France? I mean, World War II, which is America's crowning achievement, we destroyed the Japanese. The Japanese birth rate decline is a direct result of World War II and the atomic bombs, because we didn't want them repopulating, because we didn't think the infrastructure was going to catch up with them. So we purposely kept the population down for a couple generations. And then when we got to this point, we're like, oh man, they got to start reproducing. 2 or 3 generations had gone by with the Japanese work ethic that they didn't have time for families anymore. So it'll be what it is, and so forth. Yeah, I think France is absolutely I think the northern part of France is toast. That's why I'm saying I think it will divide down a line. I think it will divide a line. I think it'll be the northern part will be Muslim. Paris is gone. Paris will no longer be inhabitable. All of that will be gone. The southern part near Switzerland and all these other places, I think there will be a remnant of French culture and all these other kinds of things will survive down there. And I think it'll be it'll be a return to Catholicism for that. But the France you see now will not exist in 50 years. I won't be alive to see it, but right, it'll be gone. In 50 years, all of Europe will be different. So Ireland, Conor McGregor, like him or hate him, the guy's at least running to try and save Ireland from itself. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. There's going to be a very specific division. It's going to cleanly cut. And I think it's going to be a reestablishing. Ireland is terrible. Ireland is terrible right now. That's why Conor McGregor's trying to do. He's, like him or hate him. Like or hate Giorgio Meloni, she's at least identified the problem. She's getting no help from the Italian president. And also they have a birth rate crisis as well. All of these things that Europe is struggling with is a direct result of World War II. Right. And the brother wars that took place there. And so, all right. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy in that regard that we're seeing it in real time. And the countries that really didn't participate in World War II, the Middle East and Africa, their populations are exploding. Oh, Italy's birth rate is terrible. Terrible. I mean, if you ever go on social media, there are always these things like buy this house in this quaint Italian village for €1 or lira or whatever they use. The problem is you got to spend like 200 grand in repairs, and you got to live there, and you got to do all these other things. And so, and the really a bunch of old boomers are going over there and buying it. And they're like, no. We want young people to buy these houses. That's why they're cheap, so they can have babies here. And, they just don't want to do it. But it's going to be, it's sad. It really is to see that, especially when you reflect on days like today and you had men, you could say that World War II destroyed, at least in Europe, the top tier men, of each of those, of England, of Germany, of France, of Italy, of all those places, Russia, Poland, all of those places. It destroyed the able-bodied men that would have fought back the ideas of communism, that would have fought back the ideas of globalism. You think about that. The men that ran to fight in these wars would be the men that would stand up to defend your country in the face of globalism, in the face of cultural change. They're all gone. They're all gone in the span of 20 years. Generations wiped out. So, yeah. So we honor the sacrifices of those who died, while at least saying, it's interesting where we've ended up. Next story. A judge tells federal agencies they cannot enforce anti-trans bias policies against Catholic groups. Hey, this is a second win from the courts in 2 days. Yesterday, we had the, hey, racial discrimination is real, deal with it. And now we have 2 federal agencies cannot penalize Catholic employers and healthcare providers for refusing to provide troon care or troon surgeries or coverage due to religious beliefs, according to a ruling by U.S. District Judge Peter Welt. Judge Peter Welt's decision prohibits the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services from enforcing a healthcare rule imposed by Catholic Joe Biden. The ruling also prevents the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission from labeling non-coverage of quote-unquote gender-affirming care as sex discrimination. And then Martin Nosenbaum, the Associate General Counsel, praised the decision, stating it protects members wanting to align their health plans and services with their religious beliefs. Now, I'm not going to get too crazy about this, simply because let's wait, because somebody's going to file an injunction and this thing's going to go to SCOTUS. So we'll see if this actually stays permanent. And of course, it's only going to be as permanent as long as there's a supposed Republican or conservative in office. The moment a conservative or Republican is out of office and you get another quote unquote Catholic, like Catholic BBL, right? President BBL, when she's in office and she's a supposed Catholic, she's had ashes on her head for Ash Wednesday. She'll put this policy in full force, and she'll sue you into oblivion to enforce it. So unfortunately, it's good for now. Let's see where it ends up in the courts. I'm not too at this point, anything with the feds, I'm not very in favor of. I think it's not going to work. Because even if it does, it's going to be a short-term gain because of the fact that it's only going to be enforced or defended as long as one side's in there. It's not equal protection for everybody. It's who has the power to enforce their agenda right now. Right now, the agenda cannot be enforced because the left does not have the authority to do so. But once they have the authority to do so again, they're going to just ram it down your throat. So enjoy the reprieve, but don't get used to it. All right, last story of the day, ladies and gentlemen. A little box office news. I'm really kind of sad. By the way, Mark, I'm taking your advice. I've gotten some probiotics for my carnivore keto transition, and I am feeling a lot better tonight. But I was not able to get to the ballerina last night. I'll get to it Monday, and I'll have a review for you Monday. Because, like I said, I can't do it tomorrow because I got LTC and stuff. Sundays, since I have the ability to, I'm not working. So I'll get to it Monday, first showing, and I'll have a review dropped. If you're interested, you can subscribe to RickCast Reviews, and it'll be dropping on RickCast Reviews on Monday. But box office forecast: The Ballerina goes toe-to-toe against Lilo and Stitch. From the world of John Wick, Ballerina, which is a terrible title, they should have just gone with Ballerina, is the 5th film in the little franchise that could, which began in 2014. Movie number 1 was a hit, and then they just kept making more and more money with them, so that's great. So they're predicting what? 32 to 40 million. All right, let me see here. How much was the budget? Ballerina. Ballerina budgets between 80 and 90 million after reshoots. That's pretty much on track with the last couple of yeah, well, that's on track with the last couple John Wick films. So 32 to 40 million is a good opening for that. That's almost half the, 90 million with reshoots, half of that. So what, 45 million for budgeting. So you have that's 130 total. That's 130 for the total for it. Opens up to 35, 40. I think this movie will have enough legs that it'll make a majority of it on the way back. So it should be okay. Showtime market share isn't looking great, occupying 15% of all showtimes behind Lilo and Stitch. That's the biggest problem I see for the Ballerina film, is that all the premium screens that it would normally have is going to get eaten up by Lilo and Stitch. Maybe you'll see a thing like at night, Lilo and Stitch will switch to a smaller theater, and the Ballerina will get the premium large formats. I think they're large premium screens, LPSs. They'll get the LPSs at night, but they're missing out on the days. No, the Wick franchise is very strong. And, statistically speaking, 130 million for a budget is nothing. So they're hoping that this thing can get some legs. And right now it's got a pretty decent, what is the Metacritic score on Ballerina? Let's see. Metacritic score on Ballerina is a 59. That's not great. It's mixed or average. So we're going to see how we'll see how it opens up and how it holds. But I don't think it shouldn't make its money back up. So we'll see. So Rick from RickCast will say 35. I'm going to put it right in the middle. 35 million, which is not a bad opening for a film like this. The big thing is Ana de Armas does not have a huge star power. Like, people like her. I mean, guys like Dagoon at her, but the fact of the matter is she doesn't have enough star power to pull it in. They're hoping that the title John Wick will pull people in. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see. Second one is Lilo and Stitch, looking at 36 to 32 million, which would be about a 50% drop from last week. I mean, the movie's going to make its money back. It's already pretty much on its way to $1 billion. So that's not anything too crazy. So it'll be fine. It'll make its money. Unfortunately, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, its best part will be 15 million. So it's really running out of time to make money before it's just going to get. It's got the rest of this month, but F1 comes out in like 2 weeks, the Brad Pitt film. So that's going to eat it up. And then once July comes, it's going to be gone because you got Fantastic Four, Superman, Jurassic Park. So this movie's got to make as much money as it can. And I really don't think Mission Impossible has the the legs to get there. It's at 356 million worldwide. This movie needed to make another $300 million in its run to even come close to profitability, because I think the numbers are 450 to 500 million, maybe higher, maybe 6, depending on tax credits and how you want to use all that. But it's unfortunate. This movie's not going to make its money in theaters. It may make money with POV, and then if they license these films out in the long run. But short term, Mission Impossible, if it makes the 15, that doesn't even get them to 400 million, because it's at 356. Even 15 million puts them at what, 350, 353 or something like that. It doesn't look well for this. And it's sad, because everybody's, happy with Tom Cruise and his promotions and stuff, but it's just not a good movie. It's not a good movie. It's too long, and it should have been released in the beginning of May and not at the end. Should have been released at the beginning of May and have 3 weeks to itself to have as many people go to it as possible. The fact that this is not 1995, you can't line up your films against each other anymore, and I don't know why people still think that that's a good idea. In this age, films need to be left alone for a couple weeks. Mission Impossible needed to come out for 3 weeks, and then Lilo and Stitch needs to come out for 3 weeks by itself. And then this week, The Ballerina comes out for 2 weeks by itself. Then F1. Just the fact that July, they're going to cannibalize themselves. Fantastic Four. I'll tell you right now, I think it's going to be Jurassic World, Superman, Fantastic Four. It's going to come in that order. The Jurassic World movies make money. They're dinosaur movies, and kids love them. It doesn't matter who's in it. It'll make its money back. And then Superman, probably because it's going to be less political, will make more money. Fantastic Four is going to be an absolute nuclear bomb. And Disney already knows it. That's why they're freaking out at this point. And they should, because you all deserve it. All right, folks, that is it for this weekend. If you really like what I do and enjoy what I do, hit the like button on the way out and hit the subscribe button. And I will be around in about 30 minutes to hang out with you again with my good buddy Steve Cunningham for News from the Pew Friday edition. So if you want, I will see you in a half hour. If not, I will see you on Monday. You all be safe out there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on Getter, on Rumble, on YouTube, on Kick, and on Twitch. My one supporter on Twitch. Thank you. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. No, I will not. I will talk to you on Sunday. Nope, I will not. I will talk to you Monday. What the hell am I doing? I will talk to you Monday. I will talk to you Monday. God bless. And until that day comes, ladies and gentlemen, free Dexter Taylor.